We are here 5 minutes after. My apologies. Had to heat up some pumpkin pie and some what you call this? Egg, some eggnog made with milk. How's that sound? Hope you guys are having a or have had a phenomenal holiday weekend that passed. What's going on, good brother?
It's good, bro. Can you see? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you on here once or twice. Yeah, I got you on here once. Yep. You are clear, brother. Volume is up. All is well.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm in a car, so that's why.
Got you. Okay. Thanks for being on time, good brother.
You know,
You,
had to pick up had to pick up Selena. You know, she don't want to get on her. Oh, she on the phone right now.
okay. Yeah, well, tell her I said hello when you can.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm still smiling through it all. Thanks for asking.
That's good. Of course.
Yeah, sure. All right, we're going to get into this. Let me go over some quick announcements. Then we're going to get into what we have on the agenda for the day. Let's go ahead and put it in the wrong place. TikTok, what up? Facebook, what up? IG, what up? YouTube, what up? Thanks for checking in with your coach. Let's go over these quick announcements, man, and then we're gonna get into this. We are on week 15. This is a coach class with coach. I'm excited about tonight. Uh, remember the gallery that tells your story. Check out the content. I have the content on YouTube. That is, I have uploaded some more recent videos that we recorded. I'm not actually caught up yet. I think I have about maybe 5 or 6 more that I'm going to post. But check it out. Give us some feedback. Slide in the DM. Tell me what you think about it. Definitely want to get you guys feedback. Uh, also, uh, always promoting the books that we have for sale. Aiden's Journey, which comprise which is comprised of two Christian fiction novels, The Invisible Marriage and Forsaking All Others. So The Invisible Marriage is a part of Aiden's journey. I'm just giving you a snapshot. I'm giving you a preview. It's part of Aiden's journey where Aiden is in a marriage. Aiden is, let me say that differently. Aiden is married, but not in the marriage. That's why it's called The Invisible Marriage. Because you can be married and be invisible in the marriage. All right. So I just gave y'all a little snapshot. It's available on Amazon and Kindle. Check it out. Then we have Forsaking All Others, which is a part of Aiden's journey, where Aiden is remarried. And him and his wife are going through numerous trials and tribulations. And they have made a vow to forsake all others and focus solely on God. That will be their anchor or the anchor that will bring them through. That's a preview. It's a beautiful project with my wife and I. Check that out. Also, not a part of Aiden's journey. I did, and it didn't. So, uh, I mean, it's probably what you guys can imagine. This is a Christian fiction novel, 4 different authors. Had the privilege of doing this project with some really great people. Shout out to Anastasia, Taisha, and Rock. Uh, these characters in this novel said I do, and they went forward with the marriage vows, and it didn't work out. And the book will tell you the reasons why those particular marriages didn't work out and what those characters learned from those marital experiences. All right, it's another preview. And then we have 50 Shades of She. If you like poetry, if you like really deep poetry, and there's no greater poetess than my wife, 50 Shades of She. Her poetry is what God allowed her to use to escape her experiences with domestic violence. So really deep poetry, not so deep that you can't understand it, but just really deep, man, and meaningful and emotional and just impactful. So check that out, 50 Shades of She. All right. Also, we have Bible studies on Sunday. If you want to jump in, we're walking through the book of Hebrews. We're in chapter 7. Verse by verse Bible study. We are taking our time. If you like to study to show yourself approved, join us every Sunday from 12 to 1 Eastern Standard Time. I'm telling you that we are getting so much from the scriptures that I'm very excited to say that we have been in Hebrews from the very beginning. Chapter 1, verse 1. We've been in Hebrews, and again, we are now in chapter 7, verse 24. We've been in Hebrews for a year and a month. That's how much is in the scriptures that needs to be dissected, that needs to be understood. So if you want to be a part of that study, join us Sundays at 12. All right. Replay. If you are just checking in for temporarily checking in for the coach class, I will replay this on my Facebook page, Darrell White, on Thursdays at 8 p.m. It will also be available on the Gallery That Tells Your Story on YouTube. And I think that's it. Yes. And if, I know that Sundays most people are in worship. If your service is running at 12 to 1 and you're not able, you want to come and join and be a part of the Bible study as we walk through Hebrews and you can't make it, no worries. I do have the replay at 8 p.m. on Sundays on YouTube, the Gallery That Tells Your Story, and also on my Facebook page. All right. Merchandise for sale. We have the Gallery That Tells Your Story t-shirts. We have John 8 and 24 t-shirts. And we have Self-Love Over Self-Destruction t-shirts available. All right. So if you're interested, send me a DM and I'll send the shirts out to you. All right. Last but certainly not least, I'm looking for coaches to join us. If you're interested in coaching, which is about helping the person to get from point A to point B. That's what it's really all about. Some people have challenges with meeting their personal life goals, especially relationship goals. We coach off of 3 pillars: self-talk, self-improvement, and your relationship with others. All right. So if you're interested, again, shoot me a DM or send me a message in the DM, let me know. And I can talk to you about becoming part of the team. All right. I think that's all I have. Let's go to the quote of the day. I'm going to share my screen. Let's get right into this. No point in delaying. All right. This is pretty lengthy, but let's talk about it. Before I do, let me give a shout out to a couple people joining in. Brother Carl, salute. Audrey, Cole, thanks for checking in. Dev, my other brother from the same mother, thanks for checking in, champ. Bella, thanks for checking in. Really appreciate you. Donald Brown, thank you for checking in. Appreciate you guys. All right, here's the quote. I don't know. I'm looking at the name because I want to respect the person giving the quote. And I'm trying to figure out if the D is silent or if the H is silent. Sadhguru or Sadhguru says, if you want to approach the truth, listen to this. If you want to approach the truth, the first thing is you don't assume anything. If you have already made an assumption, you are just trying to find the confirmation for your assumption. That is not seeking truth. Let me repeat that. I want that to sink in. If you want to approach the truth, the first thing is you don't assume anything. If you have already made an assumption, you are just trying to find the confirmation for your assumption. That is not seeking truth. All right? And think about this, man. You know, how many times do you find yourself making false assumptions? I think that when it comes to self-awareness, when it comes to overall self-improvement, this is definitely something we have to stop doing, and we have to start basing our beliefs, what we believe about a scenario, situation, a season in life. We have to base it on evidence. So some of what I'm going to share this week is what we covered last week. So it will be a recap to some of you that joined us. If you didn't join us last week, this is new information. But because we're on the unit of self-improvement and the subunit of self-awareness, it is imperative, I beseech you, to identify every single time you are making false assumptions about something, about someone. All right? So we're going to go over a few. And I'm trying to determine whether we'll do the article first or go to the chalkboard. But before I do, any questions, any comments, any thoughts, any feedback before we move forward as it pertains to this quote? If this resonates with you, anything. Pause for a moment.
Nah, bro, I'm good. It's processing.
Okay. All right. No worries. All right. So let's move on. Sister Glenda, thank you for joining. Aru, thank you for joining. Appreciate you guys. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing this. I think I'm going to go to the chalkboard first. Let's go over some key points, and then we'll cover the article. Get rid of this now. Yeah, let me get rid of that. All right. So a couple of notes that I took from the article. I just want to share. Recognizing our cognitive biases enhances our understanding and our communication, especially in relationships. All right. So we're covering, this is part 2. We're covering cognitive biases. All right. Recognizing our cognitive biases enhances understanding and communication. And I know that especially in our relationships. All right, so let's go over some definitions here. Cognitive bias, what is it? It is the way a person understands events, facts, and other people based upon their own set of beliefs or experiences, which is often, listen to this, unreasonable and inaccurate. Did you get that? Cognitive biases disrupts logical thinking. It is an involuntary pattern of thinking that produces distorted perceptions of people, environments, and situations. You see why this is so important for us to be able to recognize when we have cognitive biases? So we have a couple that I noted. And again, if you joined us last week, some of this we covered last week. The first one is confirmation bias. And just think about it as I say it. Confirmation bias. Confirm. It is when you prefer information sources that align with your beliefs. People do this because it helps maintain their self-confidence and self-esteem when the information they receive supports what they know or what they already know. All right? So I want you to think about this. I want you to explore some scenarios, and I hope that some of these resonates with you. Right? And I should have put this on the board. But think about the situations where a person comes to you, or rather, you go to a person that you believe to be reliable, right? This person is a person who pretty much aligns with your beliefs. So you think of somebody in your inner circle. So what happens is you form this cognitive bias, this rather confirmation bias, because although you don't have all of the information, you go to a person in your inner circle because what you end up doing is presenting the information to them. And because your beliefs already align, they will validate what you believe about another person or situation. And guess what? Both of y'all don't have the whole story. But you believe it to be true because of these biases. So as I read these, I want you to think about how these situations resonate with you, right? Because this is about looking into our own mirrors. Then you have anchoring bias. This occurs when you become committed to the first thing you learn about someone or something. The quote unquote first impression. Think about this. How many first impressions have you had about somebody that was wrong? The evidence proved that the first impression you had of them was not 100% accurate as it pertains to their character, their presentation, and things of that nature. But again, because we have these biases, we lean so much on the first impression. If you suffer from anchoring bias, we lean so much on the first impression that it tarnishes relationships, or it prevents you from forging relationships, or On the contrary, you forge these relationships based off of the first impression, and then you find out as you spend more time with a person that your first impression of them was off. It was invalid. Because over time, I always say this, an actor and an actress has a beginning and an end to their script. Eventually, if you pay attention long enough, and if you allow time to do what it does, the real person will come out. People can't act for so long. So this falls under the anchoring bias. When you commit to the first thing you learn about somebody. All right? Then we have what we call the hindsight bias. Hindsight. This is the inclination to see some events as more predictable than they are. So this is, I knew it. I knew it was going to happen. Or, you look for occasions where you can say, I knew it. But how many times have you been wrong when you said you knew something? All you got to do is be wrong once. And it should tarnish the whole thought processes behind this particular bias. Because sometimes you've said, if you're honest, I knew it. I knew this was going to happen. And you did that based upon your experiences with somebody else, right? And then you dug a little deeper and found out that you wasn't as accurate as you thought you were. There was some more things to the story that you wasn't privy to. And those were the reasons why such and such happened. All right? So check that out. Then you have the authority bias. In fact, I'm going to skip authority bias. We'll come back to that. Let's go to the negativity bias. This is when you pay more attention to the bad news rather than the good news. You know anybody like that? They focus so much on what's wrong, what's bad, what's negative, that they ignore the good. These are the glass half empty kind of people. They do not focus primarily on the glass being half full. And they form a conclusion based off of the glass being half full. Don't miss that part. Let's get back to this authority bias. This is when you accept the opinion of an authority figure because you believe they know more than you. You accept the opinion of an authority figure because you believe they know more than you. Man, now, a lot of us have fell prey to this one. You're anything like me, you grow up and you learn, especially some of the people that you looked up to, you grow up and you learn that they didn't know as much as I thought they knew. But look, nowadays, 2025, information is right at your fingertips. All of us are privy to information. How you use it is a whole nother thing that often comes with wisdom and experience. But just because a person is in a position of authority, or when a person is in a position of authority, it's a fallacy for us to draw a conclusion that they know it because of their position. So these are some examples of cognitive biases that are pretty common that we need to pay attention to, especially when it comes to self-awareness. Now, why is this important? You got to go back to the top. By definition, a cognitive bias is an involuntary pattern of thinking that produces distorted perceptions of people, environments, and situations. A lot of us run around and we say, you know, that's just my perception. My perception is my reality. But check this out. And your coach told you this. Just because your perception is your reality, it does not mean that your perception is true. It does not mean your perception is true. And in coaching, what we do with our clients is we encourage you to get evidence and to refrain from making false assumptions. Let's stop filling in the holes with our beliefs, with our opinions, when all we need to do in coaching is communication 101. Ask the direct question. That's how you get rid of putting yourself in a situation where you make false assumptions. You go to the person and you ask direct questions. I'll tell you a quick story when we get into the article. When I was a supervisor, one thing that my one thing that made my staff uncomfortable about my approach is if a staff member came to me, because you have a gossip in every office. If a staff person came to me and they said, you know, call themselves looking out for you and looking out for the team, and they come to you and they say, person A comes to you, right? Person B said such and such and such and such, and I'm concerned. Okay, wait right here. I would get on the phone and call person B in the office on the spot and ask the direct question to person B. And sometimes, because it came from a gossip, you can sit and look at how uncomfortable person A is. Because after everything is confirmed between you and person B, now person A, because they're gossip, want to wiggle their way out of it. Oh, well, I thought that meant, and they start giving their interpretation. Well, I didn't say she, yes, you did. Yes, you did. Cut it out. So that's the way I'm just giving that example. You ask the direct question to the person. And if you need help and you lack confidence, and I'm not saying you guys should come to me, but that's what coaching is for. To help you to develop the self-confidence so you can start having the hard conversations with people. This is very important. Stop filling in the holes with, well, I already know what they're going to say. No, you don't. That is the lie that you believe to be true. You don't know what somebody's going to say because you haven't asked them the question. You haven't given the person the opportunity to answer the question. Stop filling in the holes with answers that you can't prove as evidence, with answers that you can't prove to be true. In coaching, we also ask our clients to identify the lie that you believe to be true. What is the lie that you believe to be true? Okay, I believe that because of my experiences with this person, if I approach this person, all that person is going to do is, okay, then that's your self-talk. So you're making this story up based off of these past experiences, and those are the lies that you believe to be true. But the question is, do you want to know the truth? Yes? Okay. Then you need to confront the person and have the hard conversation. Ask questions. Ask direct questions. Stop just beating around the bush. We don't do that in coaching. Communication, communication, communication is the key to everything. And effective communication builds bridges and not walls. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns, or thoughts before we move into the article? Everybody good?
Now you on one tonight, bro.
Praise God, brother. Emily, thanks for checking in. It's been a long time. Mr. Ward, thanks for checking in. Sam, thanks for checking in. Appreciate you guys. All right, let's stop sharing here. And let's go to the article. All right. We won't cover all this in detail. Jamar, you do have access to the article through the link that I sent to your email. When you get a chance, just check it out. I'm just going to preview it for a minute. All right. It says cognitive bias is the loose screw in critical thinking. All right. Let's go down. This is by Robert Wilson Jr., who also wrote The Main Ingredient. This is from Psychology Today, posted May 17th of 2021. All right. Let's see. We covered the definition for cognitive bias. Let's look at. Oh, I do want to read this part of the article. Let's focus on this paragraph here. It says, in brief, he said, in brief, a cognitive bias is a shortcut to thinking and is completely understandable. The onslaught of information that we are exposed to every day necessitates some kind of time-saving method. Listen to this. It is simply impossible to process everything, so we make quick decisions. Most people don't have the time to thoroughly think through everything they are told. Nevertheless, as understandable as depending on biases may be, it is still a severe deterrent to critical thinking. All right. So we covered confirmation bias earlier. Let's look at anchoring bias. Listen to this. This occurs when you become committed or attached to the first thing you learn about a particular subject. A first impression of something or someone is a good example. All right, in anchoring bias. But listen, I'm sorry, I said that. I meant to talk about halo effect. Similar to anchoring is the halo effect, which is when you assume that a person's positive or negative traits in one area will be the same in some other aspect of their personality. Listen to the example. You might think that an attractive person will also be intelligent without seeing any proof to support it. Very interesting. It's called the halo effect, which is a type of anchoring bias. All right. Let's look at the oh, no, I'm not too interested in that. Let's look at this is a good one. False consensus effect. is when you assume more people, tell me if you know somebody like this, is when you assume more people agree with your opinions and share your values than they actually do. Is when you assume more people agree with your opinions and share your values than actually do. The writer says this happens because you tend to spend most of your time with others, such as family and friends, who actually do share beliefs similar to yours. Very interesting. And again, these are all types of cognitive biases. All right. Did I cover this one already? This is interesting as well. Availability bias occurs when you believe the information you possess is more important than it actually is. I know you know somebody like this. Availability bias occurs when you believe the information you possess is more important than it actually is. This happens when you watch or listen to media news sources that tend to run dramatic stories without sharing any balancing statistics on how rare such events may be. For example, if you see several stories on fiery plane crashes, you might start to fear flying. Why? Because you assume they occur with greater frequency than they actually do. This is called availability bias. And then we have, which is a type of availability bias, it's called bandwagon effect. This is the propensity to accept beliefs or values. Why? Because many other people also hold them as well. This is a conformity bias that occurs because most people desire acceptance, connection, and belonging with others, and fear rejection if they hold opposing beliefs. Most people will not think through an opinion and will assume it is correct because so many others agree with it. This is another common one that we got to be mindful of. Self-awareness 101. And we covered authority bias. We covered negativity bias. Now, there's another type of negativity bias called illusion of control, which is the belief that you have more control over a situation than you actually do. An example of this is when a gambler believes he or she can influence a game of chance. All right? That could be another common one. So today's objective was to cover more types of cognitive biases so that you can look in your own mirror and see which of these apply to you, if any. And if it does, then we have work to do. Because you cannot continue in the name of self-improvement, you cannot continue to put yourself in such a lose-lose situation. You are doing a disservice to yourself. And I, your coach, am not going to allow that. Cognitive biases are the reasons why some of us have so many conflicts in our life, and we wouldn't have, on the contrary, we wouldn't have as many conflicts if we can identify these cognitive biases within ourselves, ask the direct questions to the people we need to ask so we can get the answer and stop filling in the holes. Stop making false assumptions. That's what happened with cognitive biases. You create false assumptions. I was just talking to a great lady today, and she said to me, hey, we had this event coming up at the job, and I'm thinking about going. And she wanted to invite me, and I said, no way. You should probably invite one of your friends. And she said, well, I don't want to invite my friend because she's clingy. She's very clingy. I said, oh, okay. It's interesting. Is that why you've been ignoring her for so long? Maybe she doesn't know she's clingy. Maybe you should approach her in love and let her know, hey, I don't reach out to you as much because, you tend to make me a little uncomfortable. And you make me uncomfortable because from my perception, and I'm saying this with all due respect, you could be a little clingy, it makes me feel like I'm obligated to call you back. I'm obligated to call you at this time. I'm obligated to hang out with you, and that just makes me really uncomfortable. And this is where the coaching comes in. If you need help, because after you say all that, you need to ask the direct question. And the direct question in that scenario, which the great lady that I know won't ask yet, is to say something like, hey, I don't want to be disconnected from you. I think we are good friends. But I need your help. Can you help me with that? So that I don't perceive that you're coming off as being clean. Are you willing to alter how you approach me sometimes? Because I don't want to feel stressed, and it makes me feel stressed. That's what we should be doing. We should be having those kind of conversations with people. But to keep ignoring people, we're losing. And then coaching is about creating win-win scenarios. So now you got this lady walking around just like, she said she was cool with me, but she ain't cool. She don't never return my calls. And I text her, she don't respond, and blah, 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 blah. She feeling some kind of way about you. Just need to have a direct conversation. You need to say it in love. All right? So, told you we could probably be done early today. Any questions, comments, concerns, or thoughts before we close out for the day?
Nah, bro.
Okay, my man. All right, let me give a couple quick shout outs before we get out of here. Michael, salute. Thank you, good brother, for checking in. Slugger, thank you for checking in. Jazz, thank you for checking in. Curtis, Sammy, I appreciate you guys. Flex, thank you for checking in. Patrick, Brenda, Wilver, Lucky, Christian Chapler, Precious, Miami Sober. Did I say that right? Sobre. The World, thank you for checking in. Evelyn Rice, thank you for checking in. General Service. Okay. Thank you for checking in. Cheryl, thank you for checking in. Daniel Snipes, Sam, thank you all for checking in. I really appreciate you guys. I hope you got a lot out of it. And Lord willing, we'll see you guys as we used to say back in the day, you got to be a 70s baby. Or have watched something in the early 70s, or the late 70s, early 80s. Same bad time, same bad channel. See y'all next week. Peace. All right, man. Let me shut this down, man.
Yeah, I'm up in the car, bro.